My uncle Gary was in World War II, and towards the end of his life, he never talked about uh, this episode where he was in Germany. He was in a segregated unit of the United States military, and this German woman, white woman, came up to him and uh, like sought his protection when she saw his African American fellow soldiers in the United States Army, because he had sort of like uh, I want to say African American features, kind of like looking at me. Like if you look at the size of my nose, like we and the Williams family, we have like large noses, uh, and I had a Puerto Rican girlfriend who said that I look like I have a Negro nose. Well, he had a Negro nose, and but he was very, yeah, like I'm kind of light, but he was much lighter than I am, and so I thought, I mean, that shows you kind of the absurdity of race because here's this I mean, not Jewish, this German woman running up to my uncle thinking he's European in some way, and he probably was to a large extent. And but trying to get him to protect her from the guys who are in the same unit as he's in. But he also said that he saw the concentration camps, and he was a guy like he would talk a lot, you know, and people, thought he sort of had a big mouth, and kind of like people think I have a big mouth too. But he never talked about this topic, and he was just saying like he could just vividly remember the smells and the horror of what he saw. It was just so terrifying watching the emaciated people in the concentration camps. Um, and, come to find out much later, based on the work of a Yale Law School professor, James Whitman, JD, PhD. I think he's like a professor of law and history or something. He wrote a book called Hitler's American Model, in which he's saying that the Nazis learned a lot from us. That's crazy, right? Like they learned, from eugenics and from, um, the way the Native American population were exterminated. Like they thought we did that really well. I can't even comprehend that. Like, I don't know if it's because I'm African American, although I know African American people could care less. Um, and it just seems to me like just as a human being, like how could you think genocide, exterminating human beings, like even if you think that they're inferior to you, like if I thought baboons are inferior to me, I wouldn't kill them. I wouldn't exterminate baboons. I wouldn't exterminate, monkeys or fish. I became a vegetarian, so I try not to kill any animals, but or even eat well, I do eat like eating cheese, but just to use people, experiment on them, kill them, gas them. And so one of the things I'm interested in is trying to understand how did uh, Israel emerge 3 years after the Holocaust, right? Or was it? I guess Zionism goes back 100 years, but was it like 1948? That was the big year, right? That was the beginning of the Nakba. 1945, I think, that was at the end of the World War II. And so in 3 years, did anybody say, hey, maybe we shouldn't do this? Like, why would we do to other people what was done to us? Like, it's wrong. It's wrong. And in fairness, many Jewish people do say that. Many Jewish people say, like Jewish Voice for Peace. I'm going to rattle off the list of Jewish brothers and sisters who care very deeply about, they put their humanity first. That's what I try to do. They say, you know what? This isn't what Judaism means to us. This isn't, we're human beings first. Don't kill, not in our name. Jewish Voice for Peace, Bet Salem. I'm going to rattle them off. Noam Chomsky, Ilyan Pape, Gideon Levy, Avi Shlaim, who's, by the way, Arab Jew. He talked about the prejudice that he experienced. What about Amir Haas, Sarah Roy, Max Blumenthal? Max Blumenthal, I think, is in Iran right now. Gabor Mate, Aaron Mate, Katie Halper. This is so long. This is a guy whose grandfather, Miko Peled. Who else we got? Norman Finkelstein. Both his parents were in concentration camps. How does Israel? They seem to pick up the mantle of like, it's as if to say, well, the problem with the Aryan supremacy is that it shouldn't have been Aryan supremacy, but let's make it into Jewish supremacy. And then what's next? And they're attacking. And when I say they, I mean the United States is attacking, fighting Yemen, Lebanon, Iran, toppled Iraq. As a matter of fact, Wesley Clark said there were 7 countries that they were going to have to topple just to survive. Like, Israel has to attack everybody. You don't think that has any relationship to what happened to Jewish people? Except it's like deflection, because you're not attacking Germany, right? Why don't you attack Italy, Germany, Japan, the people who actually were part of the Axis forces? There's a lot of anti-Semitism here, but it's an interesting way of deflecting onto Palestinians. And in fact, Bibi Netanyahu tries to make this connection that is really that Hitler was influenced by some Palestinian dude. Like, I'm not even Palestinian, but it's just appalling. Particularly, I don't want to say as a person of color, because there's plenty of white people who care very deeply as well. And I don't think you have to be a person of color. You just have to, like, a conscience. And like I said, there are people of color who don't give a damn. They don't even really care. Like some of the countries in the what's called the Middle East, but I found out it's West Africa. They're not doing anything. I mean, Iran seems to care. Matter of fact, what really is the entire world doing to stop this? What can we do? I mean, people trying to go on flotillas to stop it. I don't believe that killing people is ever the answer. It's never the solution. if you've been through racial oppression and hatred, killing other people is not it's not going to resolve the horror that you've been through. It's just more horror. you know, the idea of hurting people, it's got to stop. Somebody's got to break it, the cycle. We can't just continue to do it. We got to stop it. Well, unfortunately, the world is run by brute force. Um, yeah, I never saw my Uncle Gary really that disturbed by anything. But seeing those concentration camps really hurt him very deeply to the point where he didn't talk about it. But dehumanizing more people, that's kind of an insult to the people who were in those concentration camps, right? Eh, and some of them say it. There are Holocaust survivors who've condemned Israel's behavior, as they should. So that's it for me right now. Um, I would like to have like people involved in the live stream. I just have to figure out how to do that. Thank you.